Hello folks, today we're going to take a look at this Kino Lorber Blu-ray of Heat, the 1986 film starring Burt Reynolds and Peter MacNicol. Um, and this is a movie that had a very promising beginning. William Goldman, I believe, was the screenwriter who apparently had written the source novel. And of course, he was the one who wrote, among other films, Butch Cassidy and also All the President's Men. And then, of course, Burt, this was 86. He was, I suppose, experiencing a little bit of a slump. I thought Stick, the movie that came out the year before, was actually pretty good, but it too was a movie that perhaps didn't reach or meet expectations. That was a film based on Elmore Leonard's writings, and I still enjoy it, but I do see some of the criticisms others have levied against it, and basically would give that film like a B minus. And I think, like Stick, this film is also sort of a mixed bag, but I still enjoy watching it. I'd give it another B minus. And interestingly enough, Robert Altman, of all people, was set to direct, and apparently there was some disagreement between Burt and Robert Altman, and I believe Altman had claimed the reason he dropped out was because his cinematographer that he wanted to use couldn't get across the Canadian border due to some visa issues. So the upshot is the Altman backed out, and then you had a director who really didn't do all that great of a job, quite frankly. And I did listen to the commentary, and apparently Burt and that director, whose name escapes me, had, I believe they might have even come to blows at some point. They weren't just, having philosophical debates about the film's direction. I think it got heated too, if you'll forgive the pun. But, this is a movie that I find very interesting. It starts off in a very unusual manner because, Burt comes on screen and everyone wants to love Burt. He's got charisma to spare. But he comes off initially as a very unlikable guy. But then, of course, you see what he's doing, and that's a nice little unpredictable twist. And he then has some really interesting conversations with Peter MacNicol, that character, as well as just some really weird sort of side roads that the film takes that don't really push the narrative along too much, but they just give the film time to breathe, and you sort of get to know this character that Burt plays. So while I think it is definitely a mixed bag, and a film that clearly is not what I would call, great, but all the same, there's some fantastic moments in it, some unpredictable beats, including the ending, which I thought was pretty clever, and sort of went against expectations. So Kino Lorber, of course, is one of those great boutique Blu-ray labels, and I think they did a nice job here. Does it look amazing? No. I mean, it seems like they got a pretty decent original camera negative, or at least the transfer that this release was based on, wasn't too bad. So I think the end result is one that is solid, if not, spectacular. It's just a solid release by Kino, and yet another example of how Burt Reynolds just always elevates whatever material he's in. I'm just, like many, it's just sad that he didn't get better films to make, because I think he had just remarkable charm, effortless charm, and always seemed to be in on the joke, which I really respect and appreciate about him. He never really took himself too seriously. So do yourself a favor and give this film a watch. It's a little episodic in nature, but even still, I think that it's a good time, and it showcases again just how nice it is to just watch Burt do his thing. And I think it's also interesting and well worth pointing out that he was in pretty good shape in this film, and for those who thought he was like dying of AIDS and all the other ridiculous rumors that came about in the mid 80s when he was struggling with some pain pill addiction, I thought he looked pretty badass, and the part he played, he was convincing in. So, but aside from that, I just hope everyone out there is well. Do yourself a favor and give this film a watch, particularly this Kino Lorber release. And while the supplements are a bit light, there's an alternate ending, which I actually think they should have stuck to, as well as a wonderful audio commentary. But apart from that, it's just a good release, and one that deserves to be on your shelf if you enjoy Burt Reynolds like I do. So on that note, take care. Please be safe out there. Stay kind, and by all means, keep watching good cinema.